and welcome to day 4 of our 31-day meditation challenge to 2020. It has been an amazing week. I've had some amazing feedback. You guys are loving the meditations, and I've been receiving some amazing questions from you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in, and more importantly, as Infinite Consciousness, thank you so much for working on yourself and getting and not being afraid of working on this heavy trauma, these heavy blockages that are kind of lingering in our space. I am so happy to be here with you guys, and if you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me. Let me know. I'm very happy to connect with you guys. Today I want to talk about basically part 2, an expansion to something that we spoke of on day 1 and 2. And today we're going to go a little bit deeper into family contractual agreements. And I really want to get into the explanation of what is family. So the name of this video, if you can't see it, because sometimes it updates it and sometimes it doesn't, the most important mirror of ourselves in this matrix multiverse. And I'm just going to explain how all of this is broken down as consciousness and how we end up where we are today in our families, experiencing the things that we're experiencing. So let's start at the beginning. I have some really important notes that I want to share with you guys about family that I don't want to miss. First of all, what are families? As infinite consciousness, now from the concept that infinite consciousness is the collective, it is source, the source of all things, it is the fabric, is to look at what unconditional love is. And the reason why we look at unconditional love is because unconditional love is the unification, it is the acknowledgement of all things that are outside of us, around us, as a part of ourselves. Okay, as a part of us or as a part of a whole. So when we come into this dimensional timeline that we call our world, our universe, and the structure of the creation of how everything is kind of structured in our reality, there is a certain fragmentation that occurs with consciousness. And so what happens is, as we go through this fragmentation, things are compartmentalized, and they're compartmentalized on many different ranges of classification of information, okay, from energy to how we're viewing the world. And we're going to go one step at a time. So as infinite consciousness, we as a star, as a plant, as an animal, as a rock, and everything, the fabric of all those things are consciousness, okay, because everything has a consciousness as a part of it. Now, how that helps us understand families is because when we look at how information is distributed and how it's allocated in this universe, just like any other organism, there are aspects of this consciousness that group together based on its information that it resonates with. So organisms are grouping together based on their consciousness, on their vibrational frequency. And let's see, how can I simplify this example? For example, we have plants. Plants have a certain vibrational frequency. Their molecules will oscillate at a certain level in order to create the leaf and the stem and the roots. And the same example goes to humans. We are all oscillating down to the molecular level at a certain level to create these human bodies, the very complex structure of their body, which is multidimensional. It's not just limited to the physical. There's energetic aspects. And just that, like us, everything has multidimensional aspects. And it's those multidimensional aspects that help guide the movement of this organism. And the movement of the organism is created by the projection that is created from the organism into this reality. So we are all projecting into our reality everything that we are experiencing, in other words. So what that means is that yesterday I talked about how collectively we are co-creating this reality. We are defining that this is going to be a pen, and we define that it's a purple pen, and we all agree on that because we have defined the parameters of definition that will define what this is. And in that same way, since birth, since being within the womb, we as these sponges of information are constantly absorbing our surroundings. So our definition of our environment is basically created even in that moment. So when you're in the womb, and we're going to be doing womb work later on this month, but everything that your mother is feeling, your father is feeling, the people in the room where you are being birthed are feeling, you are picking up on that. And all the objects that are also in your energetic space, in your space, you are also picking up on that. Okay? So that means that if you are born and you see the color yellow, or a blanket, for example, a yellow blanket, you are hearing that it's being defined as a yellow blanket. It's being used around you to keep you warm. Your sensory body is feeling it. So we're applying definition, and we are understanding the use of these objects that when we come into the earth, we don't know what they are, but they are defined for us by the experience, by the use of these things. So we become familiar with our environment based on the things that are around us. And so we have concepts of how things are imprinted in our mind at a very early age. And so what happens is that our parameters of perception are thus created. So all of our family, in that same way, we identify as the person that gave us life, which is our mother and our father, and then our immediate family, and then we begin to learn what relationships are and the differences between who relates to us, like our aunts, our extended family, our neighbors, our friends, and we begin to learn how to have relationships and how to define those relationships based on how our parents are managing those relationships, how they feel around them, and how they're teaching us to react and interrelate with them. So this is where the structure of our reality is created. But even further than that, I would invite you to take a moment to research and take a look at how structures of family were created in our historical timeline. If you take a look at where the word family came from, it is, if you look at the etymology of family, it actually means servant. And it meant servant, or all the people that are living in a household, including the servants that are sharing a household name. Okay. Then later in the Industrial Revolution, when socio-classicism came in, then we started to define classes based on economy, okay? And this is a very long topic that we can talk about another time, but it was when we started to compartmentalize the financial status and production that we started to compartmentalize a status of basically economy and social classicism, or the level of where we're going to be fitting in society. So this is how it began. And before that, there were structures of class, but not in the sense where it was heavily implemented until that point, until the Industrial Revolution. So it's very interesting to note that, because I want to link this with some information that I brought in when I was having my regression, that during the time of the Industrial Revolution, there was a tremendous pull to have a deep set compartmentalization created in the world, in the entire world, which would enable to move certain things politically, financially, and to control the masses, to control larger groups of people. Then later on, it came the religion and how religion was being implemented, and so on and so forth. But there's always been a level of control and a separation of classes based on finances or production since the very beginning of time. So I just want you to take a note of that in the very back of your mind, because just the way that we created those kinds of divisions, we also have a certain structure of division within the natural world. And in the natural world, what defines separation or classification of organisms is the sex. We have the divine feminine and we have the divine masculine. And that is the base structure of creation for all things. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit later in this month, but how to define what is your core values is by understanding, where creation begins. Okay, it doesn't begin in a false structure of class and compartmentalization. It begins in nature, because nature is our example of how life is created, and we are of that. We are of this organic substance that is creating life. The natural balance of all things fall into two categories, one which is the divine feminine and one which is the divine masculine. And each one of those has a very clear definition for how energy is moving in those realms. And ourselves, based on our sex, our biology, are an expression of that inherently. It's something that is coded within our DNA, within who we are, within our species. Those are the parameters of classification in the natural world. And starting from that concept is where I would like you to begin to look at how families are created and the concept of family. How we began to look at what social structure should be and how families should operate. Don't rely on social classism or the concept of how things should be divided. It should rely on the natural balance of the divine feminine and masculine, because in order to create a nucleus, a family, a generation of consciousness and life, it is the balance of that feminine and masculine. So the mother will represent the divine feminine, and the father defines the divine masculine. So your first understanding of the natural world when you come into this life is going to be based on how you see your mother behaving, how you see your father behaving, their emotions, their expressions, the way that they handle stress, the way that they handle love, the way that they express themselves, in the same way that the mother. And what I've realized, and what you will realize as well as you meditate and you connect more with these two aspects, is that inherently we, as a natural part of ourselves, understand and have a certain expectation for how these two energies should develop in this world, in the natural world. And how we know that is because as children, when we begin to do therapy work and we go back to childhood and we look at the traumas that occurred at a young age, there is a feeling of emptiness, of not having, a feeling of being incomplete when we begin to sense, even in the womb, that imbalance of those two energies. So even in the womb, we understand that there is an imbalance of those two energies. And that's really important for you to know, because it means that inherently we have a very natural understanding of what the feminine and masculine represent for us. Okay, so in other words, in order for us to become whole, to become complete, we must have these two energies in a balanced state for us throughout our entire experience as a human. But a lot of times that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because we are, in a reality that a father and a mother, there are many imbalances inherently, and we are incomplete. We're not coming in as whole. Okay. So someone says they can't hear me that well. Let me put it up. Okay. I think we're good. All right. So, as a result of that, the child that's experiencing trauma needs to understand how to feel whole, okay? Because you come into the world, there's a certain expectation for a feeling of balance. That balance, that expectation that a child that's coming into this earth is expecting, is the feeling of unconditional love from which they come from. Because infinite consciousness, our source of all things, whether it's in multiple possible dimensional timelines, is going to be always the unification of information that is then fragmented, coming in and projecting into this physical body. So the physical body is coming in, it's experiencing birth, it's coming in, it's experiencing its environment, and it has certain definitions, and the only definitions that any energy can have is either balance or imbalance. So when someone's experiencing trauma, how to heal that trauma is that we need to rebalance the imbalanced perspectives that were created from those experiences, from that trauma. And trauma can be anything from in the womb, let's say, being in the mother's womb and feeling stress, anxiety, and then feeling that there is an absence of the father. Because who's going to feel that absence is going to be the mother. The mother's feeling the absence. And so you are feeling that. It is a part of you, impregnated in every cell of your body, because you are within an environment that you're absorbing that emotion, that lack, that feeling of lack, of not having that divine masculine. So if you look at all your life and all of the emotional imbalances, all of the traumas and things that have taken you out of balance in your life, I want you to take a moment to look back at those experiences and notice where there was an imbalance in the presence of those two energies, the divine feminine and masculine. All trauma has that certain imbalance. So the interesting thing is, as we research, as we look at this, we're looking at all possible experiences that happen in our entire historical lifetime of life on this planet, and the multiple possible timelines that we experience. Many different manifestations of life, which means all of your possible lifetimes, all of your possible manifestations, incarnations, are experiencing on some level the balance and imbalance of these two energies, because it's a part of this immediate matrix that we live in. It is the law of creation in this matrix. If you go to another dimension, you may experience a different reality there, but in this reality, we are experiencing that imbalance. And so we are learning how to return from that imbalance back to wholeness, how to come from that fragmentation of the divine feminine and masculine into an integration in the balance of those two energies. This is also how we are basically coming from the fragmentation of multiple colors, of multiple emotions, learning how to reintegrate them to come into one. We have the analogy of white light going through the spectrum and fragmenting into a rainbow of colors. That's what we are. We are that fragmented rainbow of colors. And as we evolve as consciousness, temporarily experiencing multiple colors of that rainbow, the spectrum of emotions, we are then learning how to return to wholeness, how to come back to one. So when we talk about family contracts, the vibrational imprint that you hold as consciousness has a certain consciousness that has decided that it will experience a certain element of these range of frequencies, range of emotions in this matrix universe, in this world. And so what happens is that infinite consciousness connects itself with a network, a nucleus of consciousness, which is resonant with that energy, with that with the journey or experiences that it requires in order to feel and understand that aspect of itself. So it is united with those ancestral lineages, okay? So these networks that we come into, this consciousness, just imagine the consciousness comes and it aligns, it recognizes where it is requiring experience. It attaches itself, and it attaches itself to a family, okay? The family is your ancestral lineage. It is a network of consciousness, which is, it could include millions of people, and when I say people, I'm talking about manifestations of consciousness, which is when I say people, it's the easiest way for me to explain to you how to visualize how we are connected to these networks of consciousness. Because what these networks of consciousness are, basically, are all of the fragments that make up who you are, connecting, merging with all of the fragments that make up who your father is, your mother is, your brother, sister, aunts and uncles. They are all fragments of consciousness that are merging with yours. They're overlapping, okay? And why do I say that? Because a lot of times we are cycling through these same ancestral lineages time and time again with similar lessons, similar experiences. Or we say we recognize these similar energies within us. The shape and form that we give them in this timeline doesn't matter. What matters is the lesson and the experience that we are sharing with the collective network that you are attached to. So when we work with ancestral lineages, we are looking to address that ancestral contractual agreement that was then created at the moment of the choice of coming into experience. And when we dissolve these contracts, that's what we're going to look for. So what happens is that a lot of these contractual agreements are actually repetitive patterns that you're going to be finding in your life. They can be programs, for example, of lack. And if you experience not being able to manifest money or abundance or something like that, there is a program within you that believes that you are incapable of achieving that kind of success. If you go back, it comes back from, let's say, your mother or your father, and then you go back some more. It comes back from their grandparents, their parents, and the parents before that. So these are ancestral lineages with information, and all of us are experiencing multiple ranges, different storylines, different variations of thought forms of lack, thought forms of being unworthy, thought forms of being unloved. All of these, we are experiencing all of them, and at any given time. Ultimately, the purpose of all of these networks of consciousness is to learn through the experience how to return to wholeness, how to return to that integration. That is the purpose of the fragmentation of this multidimensional multiverse that we live in. Now, when we talk about consciousness and what I talked about yesterday, that we are collectively projecting into our reality. This is a very interesting topic, and I'm going to share a video that I saw earlier today that was perfectly fitting to this topic so that you can understand the physics and science behind understanding what consciousness is. And it's going to help you look at these networks and how we group together as consciousness, understand it on a much deeper level. Because when we notice our timelines and our groups and our family and all the lessons that we're learning, ultimately this is consciousness becoming aware of itself through each experience. So all the trauma that we're experiencing is just a very limited perception, okay? So all trauma can be healed, okay? All trauma can be healed. And the way to heal that is by returning back to the moment, the experience that created a program, which means a belief system that made us take on the belief that is causing us pain, okay? And the belief that's causing us pain is always going to be rooted in the illusion of separation on some level, one level or another. It is always separation that causes us pain and suffering. And what is separation? When you go down to the root cause, it is the fear. The human organism enters into a state of fear. We can enter into this state in many different forms. It can be someone that abused us physically, someone that looked at us funny and made us feel unworthy, our father left us alone, mother didn't pick us up on time from school, any number of these very subtle events that happen and can occur many times throughout your day that can cause you to come into a state of fear. we tend to think of trauma as something that is completely impactful, like a terrible, fire in our home, or something that is really, really impactful. But the fact of the matter is that our entire human race is constantly moving in and out of small traumas every moment of our day. Any time that we begin to feel helpless or overwhelmed or in a state of fear, we are experiencing trauma. So that's the first thing that we need to be very familiar with when it comes to healing and evolving spiritually. Because if you don't acknowledge those parts of how you are experiencing things, you won't be able to have compassion, first of all. Okay, we achieve compassion when we can fully understand how things function, how things work. At least for me, I need to be able to understand the ins and outs of things. If I don't understand them, I can't just immediately feel something or say that I understand something or acknowledge it. I need to understand it deeply. And so in that same way, I invite you to look into these patterns of your daily life and notice where you are experiencing these traumas. Any emotion that comes up, of course, the triggers that come up, where you are being triggered. And now that we're coming into the holiday seasons, it's a perfect time to kind of notice the things that trigger you as you are maybe taking time to connect with friends and family, because of course, those are our biggest mirrors. Why? Because this is, why we came into that network. This is why we come into these family lines. Networks are not only, about just immediate family. There are rings of networks that we are connected to. The most immediate network is our family, the biological family. If you are adopted or if you have adopted another family, that would be your next network. That means that you have 2 ancestral lineages that you are working with. It also means that there are mirrored contractual agreements between the 2 families. It's very interesting. So whether you know about your, ancestral lineage of your adopted family or not, those are contractual agreements that you need to work through as well. So every soul has its own defined journey of how it wants to experience things. So now we defined how the structure works. So now what do? We've identified we understand our ancestral lineages. So now we must identify through our triggers what are these blockages and what are the traumas that we're experiencing. So what you're going to notice now as you do a little deeper work, and I'm going to run you through a quick exercise to show you that, is that you're going to identify patterns that are repetitive in your own life, in your own day, even within the last hour, of things that you feel that are constantly coming up. They are thought forms that are deeply, deeply programmed within you to feel a certain way or to express yourself in a certain way. And these programs are so deep that sometimes it's very hard to look at it and think that it's something foreign or something that's out of balance. So in order to help you get behind the veil, because what's going to happen when you start doing this work is that oftentimes the ego, which is the identity, which is the one that creates an identity for yourself, wants to preserve those parts of us that have created an identity from those experiences because it's all we know. And those are kind of like the basically what's running the show in the back end. So that's what we have learned in order to behave and become who we are. So it's going to be very threatening sometimes for us. It's going to feel threatening to address those aspects and to look at who we are from a different perspective. But the invitation is that if you can get to the point where you begin to question these triggers and go down to the sub levels of emotions that you're feeling, you're going to begin to notice that a lot of these emotions and programs are really not things that truly, truly you resonate with. They are things that you have adopted, ways of feeling and behaving that are coming down from, again, your lineages, your father, your mother's behavior, learned behavior, behavior that we've seen around us and experienced around us. And when we really asked ourselves the question, do we truly agree with that? We can then begin to question how we really want to behave. So the invitation is to take a look at all of the triggers that are occurring in your life daily. In this 30-day meditation challenge, it's a great opportunity for you to take a moment to sit down and take a look at those triggers and kind of sit and think on them and analyze whether they are truly an expression of who you are or wish to be, or are they something that is adopted, okay? So now that you've identified that, how do we come from the fragmentation of fear back to love? What you will find, and the resume of all my work and everything that I do on my DNA reprogramming with clients daily, every day, is I show people how to return from the fragmentation back to love. And that is a journey that can take a lifetime to do. But if you understand how to return back to that, it can transform your life in 1 minute. Okay? And just the simple understanding that when we come into this reality, into fragmentation, fragmentation is fear. The opposite of fear is love. We are returning back to wholeness. Okay? We are returning back to a balanced understanding of what the divine feminine and masculine is. And you, within you, have the feminine and masculine within your body. So when you begin to heal and correct these imbalanced perceptions, what you're doing is you're rebalancing the feminine and masculine aspect of each and every one of those things, those thought programs. So fear programs, programs of creation, which are going to fall under the parameter of money or sex partners, programs of empowerment, let's go to the solar plexus, whether you are worthy, feelings of helplessness, feelings of emotions of fear, anxiety, overwhelm. If you go up to your heart chakra, these are the ranges of information that are within us. So we're all going to be experiencing different levels of all of these things. So in the heart chakra, we have connectedness, being able to feel worthy, connected, loved, how we are loving, being able to love ourselves and others. Okay. Throat chakra, how we're communicating, how we're expressing ourselves, whether we're feeling that we're heard or not heard. All of these are examples of balance and imbalance of these divine feminine and masculine aspects of ourselves. And each area, each frequency that makes up your entire organism requires the proper balance and integration of those two. So it takes a little work, but you're going to notice that the repetitive things, you have something specific. Each and every one of you have incarnated in this lineage in order to learn one thing. And most of it is how to love yourself despite all of this fragmentation, how to feel worthy despite all of the programs that have told you that you are unworthy. This is the lesson of all consciousness becoming aware of itself, because the experience is in experiencing the suffering in order to come back home, come back to wholeness, come back to that unconditional love. So this is the journey and the expression of why consciousness is fragmented within your bodies, within your experiences as humans here. We define our reality collectively. And we define that reality based on what we've been told is our reality. So the structure of this matrix, of this world, I need to drink some water. The structure of this world is basically created by certain consciousness that is in a sense experiencing but also controlling some of this information. I'm sorry, I got a dry throat for a moment. So in other words, I would like to talk about the structures of the matrix some other time, because I feel that they are a very important aspect in understanding, and even from the perspective of consciousness, why does consciousness work the way it does? How do we co-create? How do we define things like the pen? All of these things matter because they are what are creating our reality, or what we believe is our reality. Of course, our reality is subjective. It's subjective to how we are experiencing, how we are projecting it in, what our belief systems are. And that's something that for some of us is very hard to understand because we are stuck in the parameters that we have seen. There are parameters that are collective, and there are parameters that can be individual. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I believe I've covered the major aspects of this that I want to talk to you about, and let's get started. So I want you all to inhale deeply and exhale. And we're going to start by grounding ourselves down to the center of the earth. So go ahead and close your eyes. You're going to inhale deeply and exhale. We're going to begin by relaxing our body. We're going to start at the toes, at the ankles, the shins, the calves, the knees, the thighs, the hips. You're going to go up to the abdomen, to the solar plexus, the center core of your body. You're going to inhale deeply and exhale, releasing any tension in this space. You're going to go up to your chest and your lungs, the back, releasing any tension in the body, going up to the arms, the palms of the hands. Going up to the neck, the head, the face, releasing the brow, the cheekbones, and the jaw. You're going to be now fully connected to your body. You're going to inhale deeply and exhale. And I want you to visualize that you're creating your sphere around your body. You're going to be grounding down to the center of the earth. And you're going to begin by working with the chakra system. We're going to close the first chakra, close the second chakra. As you inhale deeply and exhale, you're going to go up to the third chakra, closing that chakra. So you have closed the red, root, orange, sacral, yellow, solar. You're going to open the heart chakra, the green light, the center of your chest. Go ahead and visualize opening, expanding that chakra as wide as possible all around you, opening the center of connection and unconditional love. You're going to go up to the throat chakra. Go ahead and visualize expanding that blue light, opening the center of communication. You're going to go up to your third eye. You're going to open that chakra, opening the center of intuition. We are activating the higher dimensions of the body, activating the DNA daily so that we can begin to train our intuitive body. You're going to inhale deeply and exhale. And we're going to go up now to the crown chakra. And those of you that have been working with me, you know what your crown chakra is. So now that you feel your crown chakra, you're going to fill it in with your creative color, the color that represents your highest vibrational frequency. And now that you have filled your crown chakra, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, good. Now that you are fully grounded, protected, and you are aligned, we're going to go deeper. I want you to visualize from the center of the earth, you're going to pull up a powerful wave of green energy that comes rushing up into the center core to create a vortex of energy. Go ahead and visualize that green chakra creating a vortex of energy in the center of your body. Okay? Very good. Inhaling deeply and exhaling. From the universe, from source, I want you to visualize a powerful wave of gold energy coming down from the crown of your head, down your spine, combining with that green earth energy. So go ahead and visualize mixing that source and earth energy at the center core of your body. You're going to send 10% of that combination back down to the center of the earth. This is your channel of elimination. We're going to go back to the solar plexus. We're going to pull up 80% of that combination up your spine. And from the crown of the head, you're creating a fountain of energy coating the outside of your sphere. So go ahead and visualize moving that energy powerfully through your body. When we move this energy through the body, we can cleanse, we can heal the body on a much deeper level. And when we are releasing these programs, which are thought form, which are energy, we are moving heavy, massive amounts through and out of the body. That's what you would like to do. So always when you're doing healing, deep healing work, it's very important to have your centers open so that you can move them out the way you need to, or channels of elimination, I should say. You're going to inhale deeply and exhale. Inhale deeply and exhale. You're going to go back to your solar plexus. You now have the final 10% of that pure energy. Pull it up your spine, down your arms. You're going to fill the inside of your body with that green and gold energy surrounding around your body. You're going to visualize penetrating your body. Take this moment to heal your body after a long day at work, after running around, having stress, anxiety, feeling down, any emotions that were heavy in your body, stress. You're going to visualize that you are eliminating that down that 10% grounding cord that you created. And you're going to replace what you are releasing with this green and gold energy inside your body. Okay, this is the groundwork for preparing you to do deeper work. Always preparing the energetic body to release. There is a certain procedure to these things that we must learn. Okay, we're going to inhale deeply, and exhale. Now that we are running energy through the body, we can begin. So I'm going to allow you a moment of silence to run this energy through the body. I want you to take this moment to kind of let go of all the heaviness of your day, any tension, anxiety, stress that you're holding on to from today, any feelings of emotions that are not in alignment with your constant state of flow, or feeling neutral or joyful or loving. You're going to just eliminate all of that out of your body. Very good. Now that you are moving this through your body, I want you to begin to think about the patterns in the triggers that you experience throughout the day. So go ahead and take a look at it. I want you to see what are the things that trigger you over and over again in your life. Okay, we're going to start with the past week. I want you to go ahead and review the past 7 days. Go ahead and take a look at the triggers. Okay, noticing what are those patterns that keep coming up over the past 7 days. And as you begin to review that, I want you to go back now to your past month. Go ahead and review the patterns of the triggers. Okay, what are the things that constantly trigger you over the past month? Take a look at it. Is it the same as what happened over the past week? Or is it different? Are you finding something new? Go ahead and look at that. Go back to the past year now. Okay. And now that you have reviewed, looking over the past year, you're going to be looking at the trigger that keeps coming up over the past year. Okay? So let's identify that. I want you to pick it. By now you should have been able to identify to see if it's something that is a reoccurring theme. So go ahead and focus on that theme, and I want you to identify. Let's focus on it. You're going to pick one event that most highlights this theme. Okay. Go to that event. And then tap in with yourself. What are you feeling in this event? What is occurring? So there are things happening around you. People are doing things to make you feel a certain way, or maybe you're alone. I want you to ask yourself why you are feeling this way. What is causing this feeling? And I want you to identify, what is it that you're feeling? What emotion are you feeling? Now that you have identified this emotion, I want you to take yourself back and review who was the person in your family that caused this emotion the most in you. Okay, I want you to identify that, just reviewing. Was it a family member? Was it someone else? Go ahead and notice who was the person closest to you that triggered this emotion in you the most growing up. And you're going to take that person, whoever it is. It could be your mother, your father. It could be an aunt, an uncle. It could even be a family friend that you regarded as a parent or as a family member. Family is not just blood relation. It can be anyone that you regarded as a family. Okay? That's part of your family. So go ahead and see this person. If you're adopted, that's fine. Go ahead and choose if it's your adopted family, as I mentioned. It doesn't have to be blood related. Okay, so I want you to see this person in front of you now. See this person in front of you now. And what I want you to do is I want you to shine your crown light on top of them. The reason why we shine our crown light is because this is our center of manifestation. Okay, what we are doing is we are asking to identify what is the contractual agreement that is being created between you and this person. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a contract in front of you. Okay? This contract represents all of the things that you have shared, not just in this lifetime, but many other lifetimes with this person. It's all of the contractual agreements, the emotional agreements that you have made to experience. They are emotional agreements. That's what contractual agreements are. So go ahead and take a look at them, because these are the mirrors that you are sharing with this person. And you can take more time in this meditation and research what you are being shown here. I want you to use your intuition. Don't forget, some of us see things, some of us feel things, some of us see things in color, or we hear things, or we just know things. So notice how you communicate with yourself. What do these contracts tell you about this information? So I want you to review it, and after you've taken time to review it, I want you to decide if you are willing to let go of them, first of all. Okay? You're willing to let go of these contractual, experiential agreements. And secondly, what is it that you needed in order to not feel this way? And I want you to ask the question in a way where, what did you need from this person in order to not feel the way that you are feeling? So let's say you are feeling helpless, or you are feeling worthless, or you are feeling fearful or unsafe or not protected. What would be the opposite of that? Let's say you're feeling unprotected with this person. You expected the person to provide you protection, and they didn't. So the opposite would be that this person would provide you with protection. So what I want you to do is I want you to see yourself in that environment, in that memory, and you're going to visualize providing yourself with protection. Whether you go up to the child's self and embrace them and transmit from your chest to their chest, you are transmitting the information of protection through emotion to them. Energetically and with warmth, you are creating a feeling of protection around them. Or you can utilize color. You can select a color that represents protection, and you can surround the child with the color so that the child is absorbing that protection. I want you to provide this. What this child that you see in front of you is a fragment that is created from this experience. Okay, so we have many fragments in our life that we have that have been created as a result of trauma. So your job is to heal that child, provide it. I'm going to explain what you're doing now, because when you see, for example, in the example of protection, okay, whether it was a man or a woman that you expected to have protection from, this is where the imbalance of perception of the divine feminine and masculine is presenting itself to you. Okay, so we provide what we needed because inherently we know that we needed that. And we know that since the womb, since your understanding of what emotions are, you inherently as an organism, as a living organism, know what is the proper balance of how things need to feel around us. So we already know what's right and what's wrong. This is where we begin to understand what our core values are. All of the rest of the belief systems, programs, circumstantial events that are blocking our ability to understand this balance have to be dissolved because they do not matter. What matters is this understanding of the balancing of the divine feminine and masculine, coming back to that wholeness, to that unification of consciousness, to that love. So as you see that child absorbing that energy, you're going to see and experience and observe a transformation. I want you to provide your body here in this time space with that same color or with that same emotion, okay? And
you're going to visualize that out of every cell in your body, you are eliminating all of the programs that were created from that exchange with that person. So any trauma, any other emotions, any other programs, belief systems that were created, you're going to speak to your cells and eliminate those programs out of your body. The programs of not being protected, of being unsafe, not being wanted, not being worthy, not being loved, whatever they are, eliminate them from your body. And I literally want you to feel and visualize that you are eliminating a substance out of your body down to the center of the earth. You're going to allow the earth to absorb it out of you. The earth functions like a recycling mechanism. It transforms death into life. So you are cleansing and purifying your body. Okay? So now that you have done this, we're going to go deeper into the contractual agreements because we still have them there. We have now the ability to work on the second aspect of healing, which is how do we dissolve these contractual agreements that make up centuries possibly of information. First of all, I want you to destroy the contract that you see in front of you. You have the ability of eliminating this information. You're going to just blow it up or burn it up or whatever feels real to you. Go ahead and eliminate that contract. Okay. And as you eliminate this contract, for some of you it might be easy, for some of you it might be hard to eliminate it, depending on the subconscious mind, whether it's ready or not to release this program, it will be easy or difficult. Okay? So you check in with yourself and see where you're at, because it's important that you understand that. When we have parts of us that still have parts that haven't let go, it's going to be difficult for us to imagine. Simply imagining eliminating this contract. So go ahead and visualize eliminating that and take your time. And you can simplify the process as much as you need. You can visualize blowing it up, burning it up, cutting it up, tearing it up, whatever feels right for you and easy for you. Okay? Once you eliminate this contract, we're now going to work with our ancestral lineage. So each one of us have cords. We talked about cords yesterday, and I wanted to prep you on that so you understand how the cords attach to the body. We have a cord that you're going to identify. I want you to scan your body. Where in your body do you see the cord that connects you to this person? Go ahead and check your body. More than likely, the cord is going to be in the location of which you are storing that vibrational program. And this can manifest into pain or illness or some kind of soreness in the body, or you're just going to feel it in that place as heavy energy. So go ahead and notice where in your body you're feeling it. And you're going to begin the cutting process of this cord. Okay. Just like we did yesterday, you're going to notice where it is and you're going to pull it out of your body. You're going to cut the cord on their end, cut the cord on your end, and release. You're going to inhale deeply, taking back your life force, always eliminating any imprints that are taken in from them, letting that go. Okay, rebalancing, coming back to the neutral state. And now what is present is the ancestral lineage. So everything that was written in that contract now is released, and now it's going to be coming into your energetic space. So what I want you to see in front of you is all of your ancestors. And you are telling yourself, I'm going to see these ancestors. These ancestors are going to manifest before you. They are all of the essences of consciousness, manifestations of consciousness that are linked and connected to your ancestral lineage that are in vibrational frequency of this thought form that you have destroyed. Okay, so now that you see them in front of you, I want you to work with them And notice they're going to have an origin somewhere on this planet or maybe even off planet. Just notice, where are those manifestations of consciousness? They may not even be attached to anything. And you're going to cut the cords with them as well. So go ahead and cut the cord. And I want you to notice, what is it that all of these manifestations of consciousness or ancestors, what is it that they needed in order to not fall into that pattern of belief that we are struggling with? So we're going to go back to the original example of feeling protected or not feeling protected. What do they need in order to feel protected? What do they need from themselves? And what do they need from others? Or do they need something from others, or is everything within them? I want you to look at that. Take a look at that. What is it that they require? Okay? And as you see them before you, you are going to provide them with the same healing that you did to yourself. You're going to identify what they need, and you're going to give it to them. You're going to allow them to absorb that information into every cell, the core of their essence. You are transforming this consciousness. You are providing information. You are informing them of another way of experiencing something. All of this that you're looking at right now is encoded in your DNA. You are holographically accessing information within your DNA. What you're looking at is who you are. This is what's in you, in your subconscious mind. So I want you to provide the healing to create a completion from them of all these things that they are experiencing that are resonating with you, okay? You're going to eliminate that, let that go, release them out of your energetic space. And you're going to come back to this child that is healing here in this experience. And now that they have completed the healing, they have released all of these ancestral cords, you're going to fill and complete what you have released from the child, because you have released the ancestral connections. You're going to fill this child with infinite white light, I call it infinite white light because I'm talking about unconditional love. I'm talking about infinite source, infinite consciousness, which is the same thing. You're going to visualize bringing that creative energy and filling that child with that energy, healing any aspects of the fragment before you. And you are going to take that fragment back into your body to heal the parts of you that are out of balance. So take that child as a part of you. You're going to inhale deeply. I want you to visualize merging it. And when you work with me in a DNA reprogramming, I merge it with holographically with your chakra system and the entire multidimensional body. So for now, you can visualize that you are absorbing that child into your body as a part of you, and you are healing the parts of you that require that. So what you have achieved right now is created a new neural pathway. Next time that you begin to feel this trigger, you now know how it feels to heal. You know what you want to feel instead, and you know how to create that for yourself. Okay, so it's a really powerful healing. These family contractual agreements have to be done with all our family members, because we all have contractual agreements with all of them. They can all be the same thing or similar patterns of behavior, but they all mirror us in one way or another. So now that you have completed reintegrating yourself with your fragment, we're going to come back. I want you to go back to your root chakra. You're going to open it back up. Sacral chakra, open it back to a balanced state. Solar plexus, open it back into a balanced state. And again, the balanced state is not wide open, but a controlled, consciously aware state of this information that is running through your body. You're going to go up to the heart. You're going to slightly close it back into a balanced state, because we want to stay very connected to the higher planes of consciousness. We want to be very aware of that. We want to close the throat slightly, close your third eye, and you're going to maintain your crown chakra in the crown of your head. You're going to send the color that you have in your crown up into the 9th, the 10th, 11, 12, 13, activating the higher dimensions of the body, which means you are holographically activating your DNA. Okay, so go ahead and turn them on. You are intentionally applying a vibrational frequency of healing to all aspects of yourself. And when we are looking through the higher chakras, we are no longer seeing things from the place of cause and effect. We are experiencing things on a much higher level, which is beneficial for your awakening, your awareness, and your evolution as a soul. So now that you are grounded down to the center of the earth, you are protected in your field, and your chakras are in balance, you're going to come back into the room, and I want you to open your eyes. You're going to see your energetic body around you, very aware of it. You're going to memorize what it feels like to be fully enclosed, protected, grounded, and you're going to maintain this state of heightened awareness and elevated self throughout the rest of your day. Okay, so I want to thank you so much for joining me today and hanging in there with quite a heavy topic. If you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them. And I actually did receive a really important question yesterday from a video. Let me actually pull it up because I want to answer it real quickly. This was the question on holographic bioenergetic cords, and the question was, yesterday's video, does cutting cords affect our health for the better? Does the body heal? And the answer is yes, the body heals. When we have cords, it means that these imbalanced connections that are towards our body are, if we are not conscious, siphoning energy out of the body. So it is our responsibility to be conscious of these things. And so when we close them, when we cut those cords, we are asking for our vital life force to return to our body. And that is always healing and beneficial for the healing of your body. Whether you're ill or healthy, you are bringing your body into a balanced state. Okay? Wonderful. So thank you so much for that question, and thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I love you so much, and I will see you tomorrow for day 5 of our 31-day meditation challenge. All my love, and I'll see you soon. Okay? Bye-bye. Really quick shout out to all you on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you so much, you guys. I love you all. You guys are so incredible. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.